Neoliberalism, a term often tossed around in political and economic discussions, has become a defining force in shaping global policies over the past few decades. In this comprehensive review, we will delve into the origins, key tenets, critiques, and impacts of neoliberalism, exploring both its promises and pitfalls.
Before we dive in, if you find this content valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment below. It truly helps us grow. Now, let's get started.
Origins and evolution. Neoliberalism emerged as a response to the perceived failures of Keynesian economics in the mid-20th century. Originating in the works of economists like Friedrich Hayek and Milton Friedman, neoliberalism gained prominence in the late 20th century with the rise of leaders like Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan. Its core principles include the belief in free markets, limited government intervention, deregulation, and the importance of individual freedoms. As a reaction to the perceived inefficiencies of centralized planning, neoliberalism aimed to harness the power of market forces for economic growth and development. Key tenets of neoliberalism. 1. Free market ideology. Neoliberalism's endorsement of a free market ideology, advocating minimal government interference, hinges on the conviction that unrestricted markets facilitate optimal resource allocation. The emphasis on competition is seen as a catalyst for innovation and economic growth. Proponents argue that when businesses operate in a competitive environment with limited regulatory constraints, they are incentivized to innovate, enhance efficiency, and deliver goods and services more effectively. However, critics counter that such policies can result in income inequality and insufficient safeguards, leaving vulnerable populations at a disadvantage in the pursuit of economic opportunities. The debate over the consequences of this free market approach continues to shape economic policies globally. 2. Deregulation. The second tenet, deregulation, is a cornerstone of neoliberal policies, advocating the reduction or elimination of business regulations. This approach stems from the belief that a streamlined regulatory environment fosters entrepreneurship and cultivates a nimble, responsive economy. Proponents argue that cutting bureaucratic red tape enables businesses to operate more efficiently, driving innovation and economic dynamism. However, critics contend that excessive deregulation may lead to unchecked corporate behavior, environmental degradation, and financial instability. Striking a balance between fostering business growth and safeguarding societal interests remains a continual challenge in the ongoing discourse on neoliberal economic policies. 3. Privatization. The third pillar, privatization, is a defining feature of the neoliberal agenda, advocating the transfer of state-owned enterprises and services into private hands. Proponents assert that private ownership enhances efficiency and innovation by introducing market-driven competition. This shift, a global hallmark of neoliberal reforms, aims to unleash the potential for economic growth and improved services. Critics, however, argue that privatization can lead to profit-driven decision-making, potentially neglecting public interests. The ongoing dialogue surrounding privatization revolves around finding a delicate equilibrium that maximizes efficiency without compromising broader societal needs in areas critical to the public welfare. 4. Individualism. The fourth tenet, individualism, stands as a cornerstone of neoliberal ideology, emphasizing robust individual freedoms and choices. Neoliberalism contends that a thriving society emerges when individuals can autonomously pursue their interests, free from extensive government intervention. Proponents argue that this approach stimulates personal responsibility and innovation, fostering a dynamic societal landscape. However, critics caution that an exclusive focus on individualism may exacerbate social inequalities and neglect the collective welfare. Striking a balance between individual liberties and communal well-being is a perpetual challenge in the ongoing discourse surrounding the societal implications of neoliberalism. The nuanced interplay between personal freedom and societal cohesion continues to shape policy discussions worldwide. Economic growth and prosperity, promises of neoliberalism. Proponents of neoliberalism assert that the ideology has delivered on its promises, ushering in unparalleled economic growth and prosperity globally. Notable success stories include the rapid economic development of Asian tiger economies, marked by surges in industrialization and technological advancements. Additionally, Chile stands as a testament to the transformative impact of neoliberal policies, having experienced substantial economic growth following market-oriented reforms. Advocates contend that the emphasis on efficiency inherent in neoliberal principles has stimulated innovation and created an environment conducive to wealth creation. The belief in the power of free markets to allocate resources optimally is seen as a driving force behind these economic successes. However, critics argue that the benefits of neoliberalism have not been uniformly distributed, contributing to rising income inequality and social disparities. The ongoing debate revolves around reconciling the positive outcomes of neoliberalism with its potential negative consequences, prompting policymakers to consider more inclusive approaches to economic development. Critiques and challenges. 1. Income inequality. One of the most pervasive criticisms of neoliberalism is its role in exacerbating income inequality. Critics argue that the emphasis on free markets often leads to wealth concentration, widening the gap between the rich and the poor. 2. Social welfare erosion. Neoliberal policies are often accused of undermining social safety nets. The reduction of government intervention can result in inadequate support for vulnerable populations, leading to social inequalities and hardships. 3. Financial instability. Neoliberalism has been associated with financial crises, notably the global financial crisis of 2008. Critics argue that the deregulation advocated by neoliberal policies can lead to risky financial practices and speculative bubbles. Globalization and neoliberalism. The advent of neoliberalism coincided with an era of increased globalization. Proponents argue that the interconnectedness fostered by globalization has facilitated the flow of goods, services, and capital, fostering economic growth. However, critics contend that globalization under neoliberal principles can lead to exploitation, loss of cultural identity, and the concentration of power in the hands of multinational corporations. Environmental concerns. Neoliberalism's emphasis on economic growth and deregulation has raised serious environmental concerns. Critics argue that the pursuit of profit often comes at the expense of environmental sustainability, leading to overexploitation of natural resources and exacerbating climate change. The clash between profit motives and ecological preservation is a central point of contention in the neoliberal environmental discourse. Neoliberalism in practice, case studies. Delving into the practical application of neoliberal policies through case studies offers a nuanced perspective on the ideology's impact across varied geopolitical landscapes. The shock therapy approach implemented in post-Soviet Russia during the 1990s aimed to swiftly transition from a centrally planned to a market-oriented economy. However, the results were mixed, with rapid privatization leading to economic turmoil and social hardships for many. Similarly, structural adjustment programs, a manifestation of neoliberalism, were introduced in various African nations in response to economic crises. While these programs aimed to stimulate economic growth by reducing state intervention, they often resulted in increased poverty and exacerbated existing inequalities. The experiences of these countries highlight the complex interplay between neoliberal policies and their outcomes, emphasizing the importance of contextual factors in shaping the success or failure of such approaches. These case studies underscore the need for a tailored and context-specific application of neoliberal principles. While some nations have experienced economic revitalization, others grapple with the social and economic consequences of rapid neoliberal reforms. This diversity of outcomes prompts ongoing reflections on refining neoliberal strategies to address the unique challenges faced by different regions and populations. Conclusion: striking a balance. In conclusion, the impact of neoliberalism is far-reaching and complex. While it has undeniably spurred economic growth in some regions, the associated challenges and critiques cannot be overlooked. Striking a balance between the principles of free markets and the need for social welfare, environmental sustainability, and equitable development remains a pressing challenge for policymakers worldwide. As we navigate the future, a nuanced approach that learns from the strengths and weaknesses of neoliberalism is essential for shaping a more inclusive and sustainable global economy.